For the purposes of this video, I would like to discuss with you about political and economic systems and how they are connected. First, I'll talk about the meaning of a political system and the different types there are. When talking about a political system, we are referring to the system of government in a nation. They can be measured in two ways: the degree to which they emphasize collectivism as opposed to individualism, and the degree to which they are democratic or totalitarian. As you'll come to find, these dimensions are interrelated. Those that emphasize collectivism tend to lean towards totalitarianism, whereas those that place a high value on individualism tend to be democratic. However, this is not always the case. It is quite possible for societies to have a mix of each of these systems. Let's now define what each of these systems are. When looking at the first measure of a political system, it talks about the degree of collectivism to individualism. Collectivism refers to a political system that stresses the primacy of collective goals over individual goals. Basically, this means the needs of a society as a whole are more important than the needs of the individual. With collectivism in place, an individual's right to do something may be restricted on the grounds that it goes against the good of society or the common good. Advocacy of collectivism can be traced back to the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. Individualism, on the other hand, refers to a philosophy that an individual should have freedom in his or her economical pursuits. In contrast to collectivism, individualism stresses that the interests of the individual should take precedence over the interests of the state. Traces for individualism go back to Plato's disciple Aristotle. Looking back at the second measure of a political system, we see the degree of democracy to totalitarianism. A democracy refers to a political system in which government is by the people, exercised either directly or through elected representatives. Most modern democratic states practice representative democracy, meaning citizens periodically elect individuals to represent them, and it is the responsibility of the elected individuals to form government and make decisions on behalf of the electorate. Totalitarianism is a form of government in which one person or political party exercises absolute control over all spheres of human life and prohibits opposing parties. There are four major subunits of totalitarianism: communist, theocratic, tribal, and right-wing totalitarianism. Let's move on to economic systems. There are three broad types of economic systems: a market economy, a command economy, and a mixed economy. In a market economy, all productive activities are privately owned, as opposed to being owned by the state. The main driving force of a market economy is supply and demand. Production is determined by the interaction of supply and demand and signaled to producers through the price system. In order for a market like this to work, supply must not be restricted. This occurs when a single firm monopolizes a market. It is up to the government to encourage vigorous, free, and fair competition between private producers. In a command economy, the government plans the goods and services that a country produces, the quantity in which they are produced, and the prices at which they are sold. While the objective of a command economy is to mobilize economic resources for the public good, the opposite often seems to have occurred. In a command economy, state-owned enterprises have little incentive to control costs and be efficient, because they cannot go out of business. In a mixed economy, certain sectors of the economy are left to private ownership and free market mechanisms, while other sectors have significant state ownership and government planning. These are now becoming much less popular, however. As you may have noticed, there are some similarities between the views of the political and economic systems. For instance, a command economy is consistent with that of a collectivist ideology, because the objective for both is for government to allocate resources for the good of society. Also, in countries where individual goals are often given priority over collective goals, we are more likely to find market-based economy systems. That about sums up all I have to say. I hope this helps you guys in preparation for the exam. Thanks.